we suddenly had a ballet that got paid so much a performance. See, I had about 20 girls, or about 14 to 20 girls, I can't remember. And what I would do, I spoke to their teachers, and I said, now I'll roster them so that any time they've got something coming on that you need them for rehearsal and that. Yeah. I said I'll use some of the others so that they all get a chance to earn some money. Yeah. And I said any routines I teach them or any classes, they're quite free to use it. So we had an agreement with people like Shirley Halliday and Norma Atkinson and that. So that was the way I had the ballet going. I didn't have them on full-time page, but they'd get so much for a rehearsal for that week when they did the show. Yeah. And it worked out all right, but like sometimes we'd pre-tape the show on a Thursday night, the ballet. Yeah. If it was a big set, well, management said, whoa, 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 how come it's costing us twice as much? So you had to watch what you did. I mean, you couldn't... See, Gordon McCall sort of came over. Now, there was another guy that came just before I finished. I didn't do much with him, Keith McKenzie.
Yeah, he ended up being their senior producer.
Yeah, well, he just came in after, as I was leaving. I didn't do much work with Keith at all.
Well, he was doing an In Perth Tonight with Gary Meadows and Joan Bruce.
That was after, was it after?
And Stuart Wagstaff was involved at one stage.
Well, he might have been, yeah, Waggers was involved. Well, Waggers was very closely, now there's Janet Prance. Now, Janet married...
Bill Gill.
Yeah.
Bumped into them the other day.
So she was in some of the ballets that I did.
Well, this is obviously pretty early in the piece.
Yeah, but it was after I was only there about 50 months, but when I left, Danny took over. Danny Harford took over.
Yeah.
And then when I came back, we weren't doing too much when I came back to do Percy. I just came back to do Percy, and I was there. My wife used to say, when are you coming home? And I'd say, when I can get someone to get into the suit. And I think Colmer Doherty got it once, but he didn't like the claustrophobia thing, and someone else tried it. And then Brian knocked on the door one day, because Brian had been in the ballet when I did the big ballets. And Brian, I think, also had danced in invitation to the dance, because Brian did quite a lot of ballroom as a younger guy, Brian Smith. So he came to the door and said, I said, what are you doing back here? He said, well, I'm looking for work. I said, what do you mean work? He said, well, I want to learn a bit about television. And I said, hop into this suit. Because we used to do the whole lot, Trina and I, we'd half the time ring up and arrange the prizes and what the competitions were, and it took me a while to get her to talk, because Taffy had done all the talking most of the time, and I couldn't talk, and I'd put my directional beak at Tarina on camera, and Tarina would say, you're sexy, Trina. And she'd start talking. I'd say something to make her, and she'd go, Percy, now, I want you to listen to me, Percy. And I go, come on, Trina, keep talking, because I can't. So that's Trina and Percy, and that's when Brian came back.